There is a study on how people actually fall in love. Not the version we tell at dinner parties, the real one. And the finding surprises almost everyone who hears it. It is not the moment you said the right thing. It is not the night you looked your best, the version of you that was rehearsed and ready. It is almost always a small moment, an unguarded one, a moment you didn't even know was being witnessed. Someone saw you when you weren't trying to be seen, and that is when it happened. If you are watching this video right now, I think part of you already knows that's true. Because somewhere in you there is a memory, a moment someone looked at you a certain way, and you have spent a long time wondering what they saw. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you are going to understand exactly what it was and why it was never something you had to perform to deserve. There is a particular kind of ache that comes from being loved for the wrong reasons, or worse, being loved for a version of yourself you had to build brick by brick just to be chosen. You smiled when you didn't feel like smiling. You agreed when you wanted to disagree. You shrank the parts of yourself that felt too loud, too sensitive, too much, because somewhere along the way, you learned that the real you was a risk and the curated you was safer. And maybe it worked, for a while. Maybe someone loved the version you built, but you knew somewhere underneath all of it that it wasn't quite you they were loving. It was the performance. And performances are exhausting to keep up. So let me say this clearly before we go any further. If you have ever wondered whether the real you, unfiltered, unguarded, unimpressive on a bad day, is even lovable, that question makes complete sense. You learned to ask it. Somebody taught you, somewhere, that you had to earn love by becoming easier to love. That isn't a character flaw. That's a wound with a very specific shape, and it was put there by something or someone. But here's what I want you to feel, even before I prove it to you. There is a moment, or there will be one, where someone sees you, not the curated you, not the performance, and something in them lights up. Not because you did anything, because of something you simply were. That has already happened to more of you watching this than you realize, and we are going to find that moment together. We're just beginning to find the edges of this. Stay with me, because what we're moving toward isn't just understanding, it's relief. Picture this. Not a moment you planned for, not a moment you dressed for. You are somewhere ordinary, maybe waiting, maybe distracted, maybe simply existing without an audience in mind. And you do something small. You laugh at something only you find funny, the real laugh, the one that isn't shaped for anyone else's approval. Or you crouch down to talk to a child at their eye level, patient, unhurried, like there is nowhere else you'd rather be. Or you go quiet for a second, lost in a thought, and your face does that thing it does when you're thinking. The thing you've never seen yourself do because you can't see your own face when you're not performing for it. Somewhere in that ordinary moment, someone was watching. Not studying you, not evaluating you, just noticing. And something in them shifted. Not because you were trying to be noticed, because you weren't. If something just landed and you're reading that, even if you can't fully explain it yet, drop a word in the comments. Sometimes naming it is how it becomes real. You've been carrying a question for a long time, even if you've never said it out loud. The question is something like, if they really knew me, the unedited me, would they still stay? You've been holding that question so carefully, turning it over, trying to find the answer before you risk asking it out loud to anyone. What if you didn't have to hold it by yourself for the next few minutes? What if we just looked at it together, from here, without you having to defend yourself against it? Because I think the question itself has been resting on a foundation that was never true, and we are about to take that foundation apart. Here is the first thing almost no one tells you about how people actually fall in love. It is never the highlight reel. It is never the moment you were impressive. People do not fall in love with your achievements, your composure, your ability to hold it together. Those things might earn admiration, they might earn respect, but admiration is not the same thing as love, and respect is not the same thing as being chosen. Love, the real, rooted, can't explain it kind, attaches itself to something else entirely. It attaches to the unguarded moment, the one where your face wasn't doing anything for anyone, the one where you forgot you could be watched. That is the moment someone falls, not the performance, the pause between performances. Sit with that for a second, because I think it rearranges something you've believed for a long time. You thought you had to be the impressive version to be chosen. But the truth is almost the opposite. You were chosen in the moment you weren't trying. Here is the second truth, and this one is going to ask something harder of you. If you have spent years performing a version of yourself to be loved, there is a real grief underneath that, and it deserves to be named honestly. The grief is this: you have not fully trusted that the real you was enough. Not because you're broken, not because there's something wrong with you, but because somewhere, a parent who only noticed you when you achieved something, a relationship that rewarded your silence and punished your honesty, a season of life where being yourself cost you something, somewhere, you learned that the unedited version of you was a liability. So you built a second version, a safer one. And you have been presenting that second version to the world ever since, hoping no one notices the difference, while quietly exhausted by how much energy it takes to maintain. That exhaustion you feel, the one that shows up even on good days, the one that makes connection feel like work, that is the cost of performing instead of being witnessed. Take a breath here. I mean it. Whatever just moved in you, let it move. We are not rushing through this. Hold what I just said, because the next layer is the one almost no one reaches. And when you see it, everything we've touched will open up differently. You don't have to leave this video with a plan. You don't have to go fix anything about yourself tonight. What I want you to carry with you instead is simpler than a plan, and it will outlast any plan you could make. The unguarded version of you, the one you've spent so long trying to manage, soften, or hide, is not a liability. It is the only version of you that can actually be loved, because it is the only version of you that is real. You were not too much in the moments you've been ashamed of. You were not too quiet in the moments you stayed silent. You were not too sensitive in the moments you cried when you didn't want to. Those were the moments someone was actually watching, really watching, and something in them recognized something true. What's one thing that feels different in you right now, even something small? I'm genuinely curious. Tell me in the comments. Before you go back to your evening, I want to leave you with this. You do not have to keep building a version of yourself to be chosen. You were already seen. In the laugh you didn't plan, in the quiet you didn't perform, in the moment your guard came down without your permission. And what was seen in that moment was loved. Not the mask, not the highlight reel, you. So the next time you catch yourself slipping into the old habit, editing yourself before anyone else has a chance to actually meet you, I want you to remember tonight. Remember that the real you is not the risk you've been taught it is. It is the only thing in you that was ever lovable to begin with. Go gently with yourself this week. You are not too much. You are never too much. You are simply, finally, seen. This channel is community-funded grace. No ads, no sponsors. Just people who believe in this enough to put something in. If you felt something real today, welcome to the family. Link in the description. I'll see you in the next one.